Someone was asking me the other day about, what should I be doing more of? And we were just talking about the things that had been working so far. And she's a GP and she's going to come onto the podcast as well. And I was like, you don't need money at this point to do a lot more of the things you're doing. You just need to take 2 more hours of your day. I know you might be tired. I know you might have a lot going on, but could you be doing more? Could you be researching online to see who's doing what? Could you be understanding how to read company accounts on a simple YouTube video and then looking into these businesses in more detail? Do you know people you can pick up the phone to, ask questions? The answer is yes to all of those things. Hi everybody, I'm Duncan Kreeger. Welcome to DefenderCast. Finally, we get a chance to show you guys something slightly different. We are recording a podcast, both in sound and on video, and I'm incredibly excited to bring the next few guests to you. Please hold on to your seats and enjoy the ride. Just before I go, I don't get a chance to do this very often. Please make sure that you leave a little comment wherever you're watching or listening. Thumbs up would be really nice, and subscribe so that you are kept up to date with what we're up to. There is a mailing list which I will ask you to subscribe to for all tab things, and most importantly, don't forget to give me some feedback because I'd really appreciate it. Welcome to DefenderCast. I'm doing it again. I'm on the road, and this time I've brought DefenderCast to my very close friend Lee's house. We're currently standing in his games room where we recorded the podcast. This podcast was something personally I enjoyed a lot. Lee's an interesting character, but he is a true entrepreneur. He buys and sells and owns several businesses, and I found it extremely interesting, even though I know a lot of these stories, just listening to the fundamentals of the way that Lee looks at a business. During our discussion, we talked about all of the businesses that he's currently invested in, and at some point in the future, I just thought I'd show you his pool while we're here. At some point in the future, we'll start to talk as well about Lee's big success stories, as well as, importantly, some of the things that haven't quite gone according to plan. So you can tune into this podcast and tell me what you think. And if you'd like to hear more from entrepreneurs, I've got a GP coming on next, and she's also trying to start her own business. And I think she would benefit from listening to what we're doing here. So let me know what you think of my interview with Lee. I can promise you Lee will be back. He's got a lot more to talk about, and he specifically had a rant to get off his chest that I didn't give him time to do today. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate your time. Let me know what you think. Hi Lee.
Hi Duncan.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Good.
Welcome to DefenderCast. This is going to be episode 5, season 2. Really starting to come together now, and I am enjoying myself. We are sitting here in Lee Bushell's games room, which doesn't sound as strange to me as it probably does to everybody else. But I've spent a lot of time here, a lot of time at Lee's house, and Lee and I have regular catch-ups. We are extremely close friends, and Lee is somebody that I rely on quite heavily for some personal stuff. We'll leave that to the side for now, and everything business related. So welcome, Lee Bushell.
Thank you very much, DK.
We are going to start today, I think, with a plotted history of kind of who Lee is and how you ended up with this extravagant home that I love spending time in. And one of my kids is here today, and it's the summer holidays. So can we take a little wander back in time? You did actually study, didn't you, and got yourself a degree?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit.
I went to school here in Birmingham, and I set up my first business when I was 15, selling fake Ralph Lauren apparel out of the boot of a sixth former's car. And then I went on to start promoting parties at school, whereby I'd take my posh school uniform off and put my jeans on and a shirt, and I'd pretend I was 18 and started doing underage parties.
Yeah.
And that sort of moved on from there into promotions. And during this time, I went to university, set up a promotion company, providing staff. done various things over the years. One of the things I did back then was I imported 28,000 pairs of Pepsi slippers from the Middle East to the UK.
Go on, tell us a little bit about, I mean, is that just something that you were out looking for, or did you stumble across it?
Well, I tried to find Coke slippers. No, just, I think even now I follow the rules that I sort of did then, but I wouldn't say they were set in stone, those rules. That I think a lot of them came naturally, which were, if there's an opportunity, go and grab it, seize the opportunity.
So you've obviously honed those skills, and we'll talk about that more over time, but you think that was a kind of innate kind of...
I think it was subconscious, yeah. So, when everybody was going to these parties, I was the one organising them, I was the one making the money on them, or trying to, and I was the one that was there working, looking around, making sure everybody was having a good time, rather than having a good time myself. So. And
did you see that as a business at the time? Did you see, like, I'm starting a business, or were you just like, I don't want to be on the mug, I don't want to be the mug on this side of the bar, I'd rather be the mug on that side of the bar?
Well, yeah, I'd go with the latter, so it wasn't... I always knew I wanted to be in business, but it wasn't per se, this is going to be the business I'm going to be in, and I'm going to professionalise this business and set it up and so on and so forth.
So tell us about the slippers. Just give me like a snapshot of what, like, couple of phone calls. Well, what was it like in that time?
A lad from Manchester was working for me on the promotions. This is when I'd gone to university at Leeds to study law, and I was doing nightclub evenings in Leeds and in Birmingham. And a lad that was flyering for me mentioned... No, sorry, I got that wrong. Somebody I knew in Israel said he was having a meeting. I think it was my best mate's cousin, having a meeting, and the guy asked him if he could sell 27,000 pairs of Pepsi slippers to the UK. Then the guy that was then flyering for me from Manchester mentioned that his uncle was some big importer.
Oh, we know that.
Abramson's.
Yeah.
And I just put the two together, and I remember calling Mr. Abramson. I can't remember his name. Was it Trevor Abramson or something like that?
Come back.
We're allowed to mention names.
Yeah.
Say
what you want.
And I remember speaking to him and saying, I've got a lot of slippers here I'd like to sell.
Do you remember all the numbers? Roughly.
I guess it was 60p a slipper. I can't remember. It wasn't a lot. And he basically said to me on the phone, "You haven't got a clue what you're talking about whatsoever. Give me the guy in Israel's number, and I'll buy them direct off him, and I'll give you a drink off it." I was like, "Well, I wanted to do the deal really." And he was like, "Just pass over the number." So I trusted him. I did that, and he paid me my commission. So that's how it happened.
And that, I guess, was the start of you, like, realising that you could seize an opportunity and make some money out of it.
Yeah, that was one of the first few times that I did something out of the comfort zone. A couple of years earlier, I'd launched there was a British perfume brand called Penny Black that actually Vinnie Jones was the face of.
Okay.
And the company was in Birmingham. They got introduced through friends of my parents, and they were his accountants, and he needed a load of promotional staff. So I had an interview with him, and then he said to me, "Can I provide him with promotional staff all over the country?" So we did that. We'd go into stores, spray the perfume, and so on and so forth, and people loved it. And then we got asked to open the clothes show, and Vinnie Jones was there.
Yeah.
And so I got to work with him. I was 17 years of age. I had 40 staff working there, and no word of a lie, a quarter of our school year was out of school that day. And I got pulled in after that, and the teachers were like, "Bushell, this must have been something to do with you."
Well, how did you get on at school? What was school? Did you enjoy school? Did you get... Because a lot, like, I've had these sorts of discussions, and I guess I'm gravitating towards more entrepreneurial type people. There seems to be like two really different schools of thought, if you pardon the pun.
Yeah.
How did you get on at school?
Well, the school I went to, King Edward's, Birmingham, it was at the time...
You rave about it.
Yeah, it was one of the top independent schools in the country. It was academically brilliant. When I joined in 93, it was actually the top school in the country, ahead of St Paul's and Westminster. I was rock bottom throughout my time there, no doubt about it. 126 kids in our year. My GCSEs, I came 122nd out of 126. 3 of the kids below me got kicked out of the school, so there's only one dumber kid than me left in at A level. So academically, I was always fighting to stay up with everybody. But one of the things the school did do was, because I suppose I was the most entrepreneurial in my year, they allowed me to do things and make my class and my year were a captive audience for me. So they were the ones coming to the parties, they were selling the tickets for me, they were buying the clothes, They were doing the promotions at the
Yeah,
time.
I mean, it's like
I loved every minute of school, I have to say.
Yeah, I guess they allowed you to, although you weren't academically, you've obviously got the kind of schmoozy aspect of you know how to play all the angles. So yeah, fine, I didn't get the highest test results, but I'm sort of carrying myself in a different area, like you said.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is kind of what I would say who you are now. You don't play by the rules, but you know, everyone still enjoys interacting with you, and
well, sometimes
they do. Yeah. I think they do. And this to me is just like a different forum for exactly what you're describing there. Like none of this existed back there. I mean, the mics did, because we heard that Michael Jackson recorded Thriller on these mics. But this sort of platform to get your voice heard and build a following, which is to me what you were just describing you were doing then, has changed. And I think I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy it all. So already it just feels like serial entrepreneur talk is where we're going with, like, first business at 15, and before that you're already doing some other things. And one thing I'm keen to capture is the scale of the different businesses that you are involved in right now, and maybe in some more detail the difference between which ones you've started from scratch and which ones you've bought and sold or bought, because obviously you don't start as an entrepreneur by buying businesses. You sort of elevate to that point once you've got some in the bag. So tell us, like, businesses that you're currently working on now. I know you'll forget some because that's just the nature of, you know, obviously Lee and I have this discussion a lot, and we sit down and we talk about all of our different businesses in a very relaxed environment. So we know a lot about each other, but I think if you could give people a kind of idea of the scope of different businesses you've got on the go at the moment.
Okay, so currently I have a bridging loan business that you kindly helped me start. For those that don't know the story, I was one of your early investors.
Yeah.
I don't know how early, but
yeah, quite early in West One. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was one of your early investors, and then I came to you guys. I didn't know you at the time.
No.
You claim we met years earlier on a rally, but I don't recall it. And you helped us set up. Initially, it was going to be a home for our money. And then it sort of progressed into a small to medium-sized bridging loan company.
So let me just give the background on that. I mean, the way that my bridging loan business works now and the way that my previous lending business worked, we sort of created this peer-to-peer lending model, which basically meant that investors could invest their own money directly into loans, and they would receive a set return for the money that was invested in those loans. And typically we had, I mean, when you came on board, we probably had 50 investors. When I left the business, I think we had 250 investors. And now they've got something like 600 investors. But you were typical of a kind of entrepreneurial investor, which is you wanted to get a return on your money, but then you were also interested in, hang on a minute, there's a business here. I'm not, as an investor, I just get a return on my money while it's out in a loan, but for the business, you're earning arrangement fees and you're doing all these different things. And my thing's always been, not to keep it all to our chest. So you talked about, I might do this on my own. And then I think you were going to say I was sort of happy to help, which I
initially we discussed doing West One in the Midlands.
Yeah, we did actually.
And then once we launched, we realised that we weren't getting the what we'd call the vanilla loans that you guys were, because we were new to the marketplace and a lot of the brokers didn't want to deal with us. So we had to do slightly quirkier deals, and really for a number, it's 7 years old now, I'm going to say.
Is it? Fucking hell.
Yeah, it must be close to that. And I'm going to say for a lot of that time, it's always been playing it very safe with that business. This wasn't really one of the real entrepreneurial businesses that I was planning on ever growing. It was more, let's play this safe. This is another way of investing in property.
Yeah, protecting your own money first.
Yeah, it was all our own money. Until about 2 years ago when we started doing this bond. Yeah,
I mean, from the outside, what I would say, looking in at that business, and obviously I've looked in quite closely, but you've had a network, because of the people that are involved in that business, a lot of the people that you've employed in that business are people that have worked for you or currently still do work for you in other businesses in your portfolio. So you don't, one of the questions I wrote down, which I don't normally prepare this much, but I wrote down, what is your day job? And I think we'll come back to that later, because you don't specifically sit in any one of these businesses on a kind of full-time basis.
No.
So let's just go through it. So you've got a lending business, and what's that called?
BIG Property Finance.
BIG Property Finance. We'll plop it up on the screen somewhere.
Okay.
Plop or pop, I don't know.
Then we've got an employment law and health and safety business called Guardian Support.
So you bought that business or started that business?
Started that business 9 years ago with a guy I met at law school.
Okay.
Because I qualified as a lawyer in the intervening years.
You're still a lawyer, aren't you?
Well, I have. Yes.
Yes.
I'm not practicing at the moment. I'd have to get my my points.
But you're a qualified lawyer.
Yeah, but don't ever come to me for legal advice.
No, and that just while we're on the subject, that didn't feel like a career path for you.
I mean, that was. Can I swear?
You can swear as
that
much
was,
as that.
Yeah, that was the old man. I've paid a fucking fortune for your education. You're
Yeah.
gonna fucking go to university.
Yeah.
And then, well, actually, I went back to law when my nightclub burnt down. But that's a whole different. That's a whole nother story.
One we can capture at a different time, I think, because I want to try and get through your. I want people to get a real feel for the amount of stuff you've got going on. The ball's up in the air because this is just a very tiny part of who you are. Obviously, it's your home and it's what you've kind of got to show for all the hard work.
Yeah.
And it will be interesting to go into the businesses in more detail. And then obviously the story I've heard before is what eventually sort of distracted you from law is that you found a business that was going fucking well and that there was no way you were going to consider staying.
Yeah, so well, exactly. So I left the law after university. I got the degree, and then I was still in business at the time. And then I just dropped it. I just went into business the next day, and then bought a nightclub when I was 22. With the money I'd saved from making money on promotions. That's the natural progression, having a club after being a promoter. And then that burnt down when I was 26. We had to pay a barrister £6,000 just to tell us that our insurance were going to repudiate and we couldn't sue them because of the smallest minutiae.
Yeah.
Even though it was proved that the glass washer had a faulty switch or whatever and just set a light.
And you weren't, so the insurance didn't
So
cover
the
you.
insurance didn't have to pay.
Yeah, and I
I had
guess
to pay a barrister, £6,000, and that was the point at which I realised I thought I'm going into the law because I want to be the guy charging £6,000 just to tell somebody they ain't going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a very small amount of money in this day and age to get a barrister's opinion on anything.
And I
but
agree.
it was a lot of money at the time, I guess, especially when he was telling you you're fucked.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, so
we're going to come back to the old businesses that you've not got anymore. I mean, I'm interested in sort of honing in on the different businesses you currently got.
So we've got the employment law and health and safety company, and then we've bought 3 companies to tie on to that company.
Okay.
One's called Safety Services Direct.co.uk, I believe, which is a website we bought about 4 years ago. 3.5 years ago, and as we've discussed before, this Christmas I would have had all my capital back, which is great news.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk more specifically about why investing in, why buying businesses can be a good idea if you get it right, and also if you get it wrong, because I'm sure there are some, there's loads of things going on. So bridging started on your own. The Guardian law started on your own, but subsequently Guardian support, but subsequently added on, bought other businesses
to expand that
business and leverage on the good work that you've done so far.
Exactly. You can only grow a business so much organically before you've got to add on bolt-ons.
Yeah. Okay. And then what else have you got going on at the moment?
Then there are 2 investments in recruitment companies. One I did own 50% of. That I'm just about to go out of.
Yeah.
You know Tom, my business partner.
Yeah, I mean, Tom's been very briefly on some video stuff before because we went to his office. But that's a business that you bought a stake. Was he a startup or was it an existing business?
He'd come to me years. I knew him from the club days. He was a Birmingham University student.
So there's a theme here that you collect people and eventually they...
Yeah, I mean, if we go back originally to my gold business, the first 50 staff we had were Facebook friends.
Yeah.
Or just friends of mine.
Yeah.
I've always employed friends. I've always worked with friends.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't subscribe to that theory, and I don't believe mine is right and theirs is wrong.
But it's right for you.
It's right for me.
Yeah. I mean, I've always faced this as well because I worked with my dad for a long time. I worked with my best friend Stephen for a very long time. I've had friends and family. Kelly, my sister, works for Tab now, and I've never seen it as an issue. I always think if you're going to fall out with them, you'd probably fall out with them anyway. But also there is a line between here we're at work and also you and I are not different people in the office to how we are at home.
I think that's a massively important point.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people can literally put their suit on and change into a different person. I'm very much the same person. I will effing blind at home. I will effing blind in a meeting. My moods don't change as a result. I'm exactly the same person. So, but I can see why a lot of people are different people.
I mean,
it's what works for
exactly. It's like you said, what works for you. So, Guardian added on some more businesses, then the recruitment businesses, 2 completely separate recruitment businesses, right? One was, so Tom's business was a startup,
and I backed him.
So you backed him to...
I told him years earlier I'd back him on anything he ever did. I thought he was a good guy. I believe in investing in people, not in ideas. And I said to him, 100%.
Whenever you're ready.
Whenever you're ready.
And one day he came and knocked on the door, and the deal that you did with him, was that a deal that was it specific to what I'm trying to say? Is that a deal that you would offer to anyone that you liked in the recruitment business, or is every deal different in the...
No, I think it's a fair deal. I think we've discussed this numerous times. The reason why I'm not ever going to be a billionaire is because I believe I'm trying to be as ethical as possible and as fair as possible. I believe that everybody should have as good a deal as me, and I think everything should be not 50-50 necessarily, but everything should be morally bang on. And there are a lot of people out there, hugely successful people. Not all of them. I'm not knocking any of them. That, kudos to them. But I believe that they get their ethics and morals slightly twisted. And believe that business is business, and if you can get whatever you can out of somebody, that's just business. I don't subscribe.
I mean, look, there's 2 things I would say to that. One is that I certainly subscribe to treating other people the way that you want to be treated. You're not always going to be on the same seat at the same table. Sometimes, certainly with me and you, sometimes I've borrowed money from you, sometimes you've borrowed, or our businesses have borrowed money from your businesses, and vice versa. So, and then also, there's something about a deal that was said to me when I was selling West One the first time round, and someone said to me, both parties need to be equally unhappy. And I at the time I was like, because I was fucking pissed off at like certain elements of it, and I was like, yeah, okay, I guess that does make sense to me. So Tom's business, you backed him, and
fair deal. I do exactly the same.
At the time, was it your plan? Because I'm sort of honing in on this more, having bought a business myself and thinking about it more. Is it about how quickly can I get my capital back, or is it about how good is this business? Is there a plan to run it and grow it forever, or do you want to get it? Like, how do you look at it?
So I think there's 2 ways of looking at it, and one is how quickly can I get my capital back, but then the other one is, okay, I'm not bothered about my capital. I want the income from it. So I think when you get to different stages of the business cycle and different stages of your life with wealth and so on and so forth, you can then pick and choose that, right?
Interesting though, one of those options isn't sell it for as much as possible.
Well, okay, so if you take my personal circumstance, I don't need that big capital payday now. I had that, fortunately, when I sold my main business. So I don't need that or want that. I just want recurring income now for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a lot, and it's something that I am sure we will talk about more and more. But I do accept what you're saying, but my thing is, a business that's got long-term recurring income is valuable.
Agreed.
But what you're saying is, I mean, there's obviously a time at which, if someone offers you more money than X amount of years income, you take it. But you're not seeing selling businesses as your way out. You're seeing building up income. Basically, that's the plan.
That's the bottom line. Yeah, of course. So it comes with the right offer. Everything is for sale.
Fine. Fair enough.
And I'd never be arrogant enough to say it isn't for sale, or that I want to create 100 million great brands. It's just not going to happen. Realistically, it's not going to happen. But what I don't want is, everybody wants certain things in life, and I'm very fortunate I've achieved what I want. Like, I don't want to live in a bigger house. I don't want to drive a faster car. It would be nice if we could have yachts and jets, and I can't afford a yacht and a jet. But so your focus is now about keeping what you've got at all costs, or? Well, I mean, that's parked. I would never risk that. Although I suppose if you might say bridging loans might risk that. I suppose if somebody else was. Well, certainly in the wrong structure, it could do. But do you want a boat and a jet? No. Okay. It'd be nice to be able to have one if you wanted one. Though, I mean, you do want a boat, because I've walked around ports with you all over the world. And I would say on probably
30 occasions we've sat in the boat shops and talked about.
All right, I want a fucking boat and I want a jet.
It's just about.
I don't want a jet. I'm scared of flying.
You definitely don't.
Okay. Yeah, a boat.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously, there's different boats, of
Yeah.
course. There's no point talking about different sizes
I
of boat.
get it.
You can go from 100 grand.
Yeah,
to
you
100
could buy a
million.
boat. I get it.
Yeah, fine.
You could put it on your swimming pool. Okay, so Tom's business, what's that called? Wilkinson Partners. So that's a business that you invested in the beginning. Just give us a snapshot of where you're at with that. Do you own less than you owned at the time?
No, I basically don't own any of it now. I've sold my shares to him. I still have a debenture over the business. He doesn't pay me everything out. He's about to pay me everything out in September. Then great. He's had a cracking deal.
And in an ideal world, fine. That's the way you feel. You wouldn't like to still be in it. You just feel the time was right.
No, I would still like to be in it. I would have happily not sold the shares. He wanted to be the master of his own destiny.
And was that an agreement you had at the outset, or it's just
No,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's the way he was going. You know, we'd fallen out a couple of years ago about something so pathetic it's untrue.
Yeah.
We're friendly again now, and it's great. But he's quite entrepreneurial, and even though he calls me for a lot of things and advice,
Yeah.
sometimes he doesn't like the advice and
Yeah.
he doesn't want to take it. And as 50-50 partners, he's running the business, his gig.
Yeah.
I'm playing how my dad plays to me on certain things. I'm playing that to him.
Yeah.
Because he hasn't got that figure. I'm that figure for him.
Yeah.
So, I'm
like you said,
sounding
at the
board.
right price, you're giving up, like taking back some of your time and letting him grow into where he wanted to be in the
Yeah,
present.
he wants to be the master of his own destiny.
Both equally unhappy.
No, I think, fortunately, we're both happy. You
Fair
know,
enough.
at the end of the day, I've got a great return on my money. I've made 3 times my money in 6 years.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I'll take that any day of the week.
Fine.
I've had a lot worse investments than
I'm
that.
sure
I can
you
tell
have. So go on. So that's Tom's business.
That's Tom. And there's
another recruitment business
called Broster Buchanan. I was a 25% shareholder. Exactly the same thing with them. They want to incentivise more people, so they've taken me down to 5%, and I quadrupled my money in 3 years. Not a lot of money, but I'm thrilled with that. They very much as well don't like hearing what I have to say a lot of the time. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Recruitment consultants they're their own animals, very much so, and they like to be masters of their own destiny. And
it's very sales focused, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like they live. There's no recurring income. I mean, there is recruitment businesses with recurring income, but as far as you kind of on your journey at the moment, focus on businesses that produce recurring income. That's something where, from my outside perspective, I mean, if Tom, for whatever reason, as good as the investment is and looks now, if for any reason Tom had not stopped coming to work for a period of time,
that's what we discussed. If Tom gets hit by a bus, it will damage the bus. but then the business, even though there's 25 staff, he's the heartbeat of that business.
Yeah.
So if you look at that, a risk reward scenario, take your money and run. Tom's fine, and he's going to do very, very well.
We've just got through part 1 with Lee Bushell. He's clearly an interesting guy. He's got loads more businesses to talk to us about. Please like, comment and subscribe so that you know when part 2 comes out, but it'll be out in about 48 hours. Thank you.